Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. It's Saturday morning, 6 a.m. Thomas Mostyn. I know I'm late. We were just discussing it. No need to message me. I've got a little timer up the top there, and it tells me I'm late. So if a computer AI tells me I'm late, what on earth do you think my son's going to make a difference in that? My own blood is going to tell me that I'm running late. I know I'm late. So it's 6 a.m. in the morning, 1st of October. Tomorrow or tonight, I think we change our little clocks back or forward an hour. I don't know. I never remember if I'm going forwards or backwards with daylight savings. I just wake up in the morning and go, oh, my smartphone, the phone says it's now 5 o'clock, not 6 o'clock. And that's how I know. Because where we're from in Queensland, they don't do daylight savings up there. So when I've come on down here and we've got daylight savings, it just screws with everything straight away, every time. How's this for a comment first up off the bat? I'm subscribed. Please give me your old iPhone. No, it doesn't work that way, man. It just doesn't. I'm not a big multi-gazillionaire YouTuber that people send me their phones and stuff all the time. I buy all these things and they cost a lot of money. G'day, Mike. Oh my God. The alarms have gone off in China early. Will Newcomb in the house. Oh my God. I reckon it's like 4 o'clock or something where you are, isn't it, Will? But I've seen your comments, mate, and I've actually made note of it, and we'll talk about it in the video. Dave from across the ditch. How you doing there, Dave? Forgot to reset it. No, it's tomorrow. It's tonight. It happens tonight. So when I wake up in the morning, I'll be waking up even earlier than what I bloody normally do. Patrika, how are we? So Greg and I were discussing. I'll bring Greg on, actually, because that's how professional I am at this live streaming gig. Morning, Greg.
Morning. Hi, everybody.
Or evening, whatever it is over there.
It's 4:04 in the afternoon here, and it's not October 1st. It's still September 30th.
Yeah, well, we are ahead of you.
You are in the future. Ooh.
That's right. Do you remember that? What was it? The Millennium Bug. You and I are both old enough to remember the Millennium Bug. Yeah. And everyone was watching Australia, New Zealand, to see if we exploded or not. And nothing happened.
No.
They're like, "What's happening in Australia?" I don't know. They're just sitting around a fire drinking beer.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
That's right. And what happened? No, all the antivirus manufacturers just made a killing. And
now this guy that I used to work with, he was having a New Year's Eve party that night, and when the clock struck midnight, he somehow managed to sneak away and hit the power to the whole house. Bonk! His wife totally freaked out.
That's gold. That's gold. Now, Devo, if you think I'm sending you phones, no. He's getting married soon. He's getting married this month. And really? I've forgotten what date it was. I actually made a note of it to make a point of talking about it on the live stream. But I reckon it's in a couple of weeks.
Well, congratulations, Devo.
I should actually bring you into the group chat for the admins on the Facebook page, mate, because it's pretty insightful, some of the stuff that that these boys get up to. And Devo is quite the funny bastard. There's a few people joining us here, mate.
So what Patrika said. Look what Patrika just said.
I don't know why Patrika gets banned from Facebook all the time.
I have no idea.
So he's getting married soon, and I said, I'll come take your photos. I'll do the photos for free. Just got to pay for travel. He wasn't up for it though.
Oh.
All the way to the UK. It's a long way to travel.
Yeah.
So Greg and I were discussing earlier because I kind of like having Greg on here and he likes being here. Well, he tells me he likes being here. So we're probably we'll iron out the nuts and bolts after the show. But I think you're going to see Greg and I on here together pretty well all the time. We'll still bring guests on, and there'll be 3 of us instead of just the 2 of us. I think
if the
it just
viewership goes
works.
down, I guess I'll have to leave.
Well, that's right. So there'll be a probationary period of about 3 years.
Yeah.
And we'll promote each other's coffee cups. So, and it's actually quite good having Greg there. Him and I message each other fairly often, and he sent me a message yesterday saying, "Hey, we're doing a live stream tomorrow." And I'm like, "Oh shit, I forgot all about that." So he's kind of my organizer as well.
I'm your Siri.
That's right. Because in my head, I'm like, I've got to do this video, and I've got a list of things there. It's all my head is always just about videos, and the live stream is kind of like a catch up, and it's almost like it's an afterthought sort of thing. And there's no real planning that's involved in this besides having talking points here, and we just talk about what we want to talk about and whatever questions you guys have. I do have a question, and please, all those guys who are watching here right now, if you've got an answer to this, throw it in there, because I'm genuinely curious about this. In Greg's, and we'll talk about this in more depth in a second, but in Greg's podcast this week, it was released. I listened to it this week. I'm not sure when you actually released it. Was it this
Tuesday
week?
Came out.
Okay, yeah.
Came out Tuesday over here.
So Monday here.
No, it'll be Wednesday for you.
Oh, did what?
Yeah, it was released Tuesday afternoon, I think, over here.
And in that, he was discussing, or they were discussing, a couple of YouTubers who weren't quite on the level. And I was curious, like from what, not necessarily from what I do, but those who are tuned in here, because I figure you guys are probably more the fans of what we do here than just a regular sort of viewer, because you're sitting here listening to me jibber jabber about shit for however long we talk about this morning, like an hour and a half or whatever, however long it goes for. What do you want from a YouTuber, a YouTube creator with doing phone stuff? Like what do you genuinely want? Like I do the low light photography stuff here, and that's what I do. So not necessarily from me, but what do you go and watch a video for? Like what's it for? Are you after, like, I want to see what the specs are, I want to see what you think of it because I like what you do? Well, I want to know, like, genuinely, what do you watch these things for? So Greg, you've had the iPhone 14 Pro Max for about 2 weeks.
2 weeks today.
2 weeks today. Well, that's right.
Yep.
You unboxed it just before the live stream. So what are your 2 week thoughts? You're using it.
I really
every day,
like
I
it.
assume?
I really like it.
Yep. Now,
okay, I'm coming from the 12 Pro Max, so I didn't get to experience the 13 Pro in any way. Vicariously through Dave Podner, my co-host. And I was impressed with what I saw from him. In fact, Dave's photography, his artistic creativity just went way up when he got that phone. And I don't know what it was. Like, he had the iPhone 10 before, or X, as you say, but that's another show. But so he made a significant jump to the 13 Pro, and I went from the 10s Max to the 12 Pro Max, and to me that was a good significant jump. And now I'm finding the 12 Pro Max to the 14 Pro Max is a pretty decent jump. I mean, but like I said on I think it was last time we were on here, I said it depends on the individual. For me, I'm a photographer, but first, before I'm an iPhoneographer, I'm just nuts about photography, period. But I just made a conscious decision 6 years ago to make this my only camera, and I haven't looked back. Mm-hmm. So it's a really big improvement for me over the 12 Pro Max, and that 48 megapixel sensor. Oh, it's just unreal. I mean, the pixel binning to get the 12 megapixel images out of it, uh, fantastic. The 48 megapixel photos are just crazy, crazy good for a phone. I mean, it's a phone.
Yeah.
You know, you got a lot of mirrorless cameras that don't even have a sensor that size. Sure, they have bigger pixels, which makes up for it, I guess. But you know, pixel per pixel, it's I can't wait to get one big ass print out of this thing.
Yep. Yep. Well, don't print your ass. That's
No,
not going to
no.
be something that we can show on here.
Nobody wants to see that.
I made the analogy of a bucket of water when I was talking. I think about maybe it was an S21 Ultra with the 108 megapixel camera, and that is the size of the pixels really do matter. And if you've got a bucket, say that's this big at the top versus a bucket that's this big at the top, this one here is going to catch more water than what this one is. And the water being light. So the small pixel is going to capture less light than what the big pixel will. And so the number of pixels, especially for what I do, isn't as important as the size of the pixel. So when it comes to this camera here, when we're talking about the 48 megapixel binning down to 12, I think the 12 is still doing a reasonably good job. The two, what about in general use, mate? There's a lot of talk about this. What's the freaking thing called? The island. It's not
The
a
dynamic island.
Dynamic island.
It's kind of handy. You know, it's a little gimmicky maybe, but it's useful. I find it useful. If I'm listening to a podcast or some music, I can long press on it and the player controls drop down and bang, I can pause it or skip it or whatever. So I do find it useful. I'm sure, you know, as developers can get the API, they can start doing things to make it useful for their own apps and whatnot. I'd like to see it, you know, give better notifications, like for text messages or something. It'd be nice to see them just pop down. I mean, if you get a phone call, it comes down with who the call is from, and then you got your pick up or hang up button. So why not incorporate messages into it? Maybe they will in an update. I don't know. But I mean, it's, you know, I hear a lot of people saying it's just a gimmick and they don't really care for it. But yes, I think it is a gimmick, but I think it's a useful one in some ways.
I've been surprised with a few things.
Hey?
Go on.
I was just going to say, I see a comment there from Dave from New Zealand, and that's the one. Honest, unbiased, real-world experience using the latest and greatest phones. If it's shit, say so. Don't sugarcoat it. Okay, I'm not sugarcoating it. I'm calling it the way I see it. I don't want to come across as an Apple fanboy, because if like I've really praised the Vivo X70 or whatever the heck that phone is called. It's got the I think it's either the Carl Zeiss lenses or whatever it is. I can't remember what it is now, but that would be the ultimate camera in a phone, in my opinion. Because remember last time we talked about what would the perfect mobile phone camera system be, right? And that I would love to try that camera system out, because I think it would probably blow mine right out of the water based on what I've seen on their website. I haven't seen any real world examples or anything like that, other than there is a guy in the Facebook group who put some on there, and they were pretty damn impressive. So, you know, if it's really good, I'm going to call it really good. I don't care what kind of phone it is. But I use the iPhone, been using the iPhone for 10 years, and I really, really do like what I'm seeing out of this phone. I've taken more pictures in the last 2 weeks than I have probably the 6 or 8 months before that.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting. Do you think it's because it's just a new toy to play with?
Well, that's part of it, I'm sure, because I'm a 50 some odd year old guy, but I got like a 23-year-old brain in my head. So these new gadgets, I really like tinkering with them. But I think with I'm really impressed with how it's working. Like with the 2X, where it just crops the center out of the big sensor. I mean, it's such a cool focal length to play with. I don't have to step back and forth as much as I used to. You've got that versatility.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But I'm really impressed with the images. Like really impressed. And the telephoto, I think, is leaps better than the 12 Pro Max, in my opinion. There might be some that argue it wouldn't be, but
I would say that as well. When from the 12 to the 13, I kind of went, I don't think I'm going to get it because the specs don't suggest that I should. And I ended up getting telephoto. Yeah. I ended up getting it just to do stuff on the channel. And the first astro shot that I took out of that damn thing, I was blown away. I thought, holy moly, why didn't they tell you how good this was going to be? Yeah. They did the Apple thing of, this is 2 times better or whatever the bloody marketing crap was there. It's 50% better, whatever it is. Like your stats like that, you can just pluck. And I think Apple's really good at doing that. Throw some real world examples out there from just the average Joe taking photos. Yeah. I was hoping this fella would come on, but he's just going to sit in the bleachers and have shots from the side. Bit biased there, Greg. It's not that impressive for low light shots, especially compared to 13. We're talking about this just before we came on, and before that update, it was absolutely freaking horrible. I thought, and I remember I went out there and I took photos, and I was gutted. And I came in and Sarah was sitting on the lounge, and I said, "Oh, this is going to hurt." it's the first photos I took out of this thing were just terrible. And I said to her, my whole, like the next 12 months with this phone, the content is just going to be shithouse if they don't do something about this. And anyway, I went out there a couple of hours later and I shot a video for the channel, and I gave my honest, no bullshit opinion as to how good it was, and it wasn't good. Then after that update, it was significantly better. And I even said in that second video, and I don't know, maybe people just don't listen or something, I don't know, but I made a point in that video of saying it's a 48 megapixel, it bends to 12 in low light. That's the way it is. Stop asking me to shoot in 48 megapixel because it doesn't bloody work. That's not how the phone works.
Well, you can shoot low light with the 48 megapixel, but you just won't be able to shoot the stars.
Correct.
Right. So you can just dial down the night mode until it shuts off.
Absolutely. You're not going to get star photos. You need that 30 seconds to do that.
Yeah.
So it was, you go and look at the comments on that video. It's just full of exactly that. And I kind of go, you know what, sod it, just keep on commenting, and the algorithm loves it, and the algorithm did love it, and it just keeps on going. And I made while I'm talking about that, I made a second thing on there with when I had the light shining and you saw it above that photo, it's sort of the top of the image, and I went, oh, I've put the light too far into there. And what happened with that was I was trying to get to night mode, and I was in my head, I was already like 2 steps ahead, moving that night mode, and it was actually doing the magnification. So that photo itself was shot on the ultra wide. So it was shithouse anyway.
Oh, wow.
But the rest of the photo, and you look through the comments, and you shot it on this way. That's why it sucks. That's why that one sucked. But I didn't use that photo. And you can see with the stars that are in that photo, it's nowhere near as good. But the other photos are there, and it just seemed to be, and they're all shot on the wide camera, like the main camera, at 12 megapixels in night mode, 30 seconds, exactly the same way I would have done it for the 13. And it was almost Google Pixel-ish in that it was inconsistent. It took a really good photo sometimes. And unfortunately, I've had just shit weather here since then, so I haven't been able to test it, keep on testing it. I've got some theories around what I can do to make it mint. I just got to get a good clear sky. But I would take a photo with no light painting at all, so it's incredibly dark, and the photo was bad. But as soon as I threw light into it, and I came across it when I was just testing it to see, am I doing something wrong here? And I shut all the video and stuff off, but my video light was still running. So I had a heap of ambient light in front of me on the trees. And I took another photo. I thought, shit, that's all right. Hold on, the light's got something to do with this. You know? Yeah. So that when I shot it for the actual video, I turned all that light off, took the same photo, and just held the 13 iPhone 13 torch on, because I didn't take my bloody torch out there. I didn't think I was going to need it, to be honest. And just had that on there for pretty much the whole 30 seconds. It was on there for ages, so much longer than what I would have done for any other photo on the 13. And it's a ripper shot. There's a lot of artifacting in there, like there was on the 13. And this is a really long way of me telling you the story that I initially started with, is to answer that question that's there, is that when the 13 came out, and I actually made a video about this, I can't remember exactly when, but it was just the video that was about, did my camera just get better on this? And it was just something that I noticed when I pulled up, I was going through Lightroom on my computer and looking at some of the older photos and then looking at some of the newer photos, and went, hold on, that's from the 13 Pro Max. That's from the 13 Pro Max. And they're very, 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 very different. The newer one is so much better, but nothing has changed. The firmware was the same, or the software was the same. And the camera was obviously the same. And somebody made a comment, and his brother-in-law or brother or something like that was a software engineer for the company that makes the chips in the iPhone. And he said they're learning, like it's AI learning. And this camera is learning the sort of things that you take photos of. And it just gets better and better over time. I'm paraphrasing there. So I think that's probably going to happen here, because this looks very similar to what the 13 did when I first got my hands on it. So I think this is going to get better. I think that's my theory.
Well, I mean, I don't see why it would work any differently, really, because it's the software that's doing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What else we got here? What's the verdict? There's my verdict. I'm pretty sure I just answered that for you.
Hey, Kirk.
You just know there's a guy with a broken hopper in Newcastle laughing at your comment right now.
It never gets old.
Teleon 14 from 12 Pro Max, my favorite. Oh, you're getting it right. Gotcha. We look forward to telephoto star trails from your bedroom window. Surely you haven't got that long left to get up and about again, man, with your broken foot. Hopefully it's not too much longer. Now, earlier in the piece, I'll see if it's still there. It is. Before we even went live, we'll put this question here. And I went out when I first got this phone. I did the video that was showing how bad it was before that update. And then I went out to Terex to shoot another video, and the mosquitoes out at Terex were just bloody horrible. They're just freaking everywhere. And I didn't know this, but at the time, I'd slap one on my face, and I had this big black mark here on my face. So I shot this whole video with this big black mark, and I didn't even know. I didn't have my glasses on because I need my glasses. I should take my freaking glasses out there sometimes. And I get out there, I'm shooting a video explaining different things about the phone, different things about the camera system, and my thoughts on it. And part of it was about this action mode. Yeah.
Yep.
And I had the 13 Pro and the 14 Pro sitting there. I had a base plate rig on, so both of them were sitting there, and I was walking around doing the same. The difference is incredible. The stabilization on this thing is just absolutely amazing. It's action cam like in its stability. It's bloody crazy. To answer your question, yes, I've used it. It's incredibly good. I don't even think you need a gimbal with this thing. If you're out there doing content creation or just videos for your holiday or whatever, the stabilization is just amazing. It really, truly is. I will do a comparison, if you like, between the Filmic Pro cinematic stabilization, because that's quite good, and this. And I've got a feeling this is going to be better. It's honestly, in my opinion, it's the best thing about this camera system from because I do a lot of video, obviously, but it's bloody amazing. Really, really impressive. Have you done much with it, Greg?
Hold on. Okay, sorry. I used it once, and my wife and the dog were walking on this road in front of me, and I was walking behind, and I'm going like this with the phone, and it's using action mode, and it was like the horizon was dead smooth. And then, anything before that, you could start seeing a little bit of motion, but I mean, that's natural, but it kept the horizon line so dead smooth. It was unreal. Now, a couple of things I've heard about action mode is, one, it works best when you're running, as opposed to, say, you're just walking slow through the woods or something like that. You get a little more shake with it when you're walking. So it's meant for running. In fact, I think I even heard somewhere that there might be some verbiage on the Apple website or whatever, maybe small print, saying that it works best in running conditions. And also it needs a lot of light in order to kick in. So, I mean, it's using the ultra wide, and it needs a lot of light because it's got a small aperture, and for that to work effectively. So if you think you're gonna get action mode at night, no, it probably won't happen. I just can't see it, not based on what I've been hearing. But I it worked really well for the time that I tried it. It was a nice funny.
Yep. I think I definitely noticed a massive difference, and I'm not saying, oh look, it's a little. It was like significantly better than the 13. I was only walking around. I ain't built for running, and just walking around the bush. And when I looked at the two videos side by side, the 13's like jittering everywhere, and I actually did deliberately make a few like big movements like this, and the 14 was kind of like this through it, and the 13 was like, it's the difference is amazing. It's really really impressive.
Is good.
As the 14 Pro Max, as the 14 Pro Max taking more light, the ISO has greatly jumped. So are you finding shooting at lower ISOs, or has it changed your process? I think before the update, I was only getting 800, I think it was. Before that 1602. Now it's like 12,500 or something crazy like that. It's way up there. And that is going to be, as that machine learning kicks in, I think that's going to be make it better and better and better. I think I reckon on the 13 it was up around 3,000 to 4,000, maybe a little bit higher. I can't remember. Do you remember, Greg?
I don't know for sure, but the maximum ISO range on the 14 Pros is significantly higher than it was on the 13 Pros.
It definitely is now. Like when I saw the metadata, it said 12,500. I'm like, holy crap! This is from a phone, for crying out loud, to have that high ISO. And as long as the ISO is doing what it says it's doing, and in the photos I've taken, it certainly seems that way.
So here's something that I talked about on the podcast, and I got these. I did a technical readout, which they do every time a new phone comes out. And going from the 13 Pro to the 14 Pro, the aperture went from now this is the main lens, the main camera. The aperture went from f1.5, which was pretty good, to f1.1 or f1.78. So it's a little smaller, but you got the lot bigger sensor to make up for that. Now the ISO range, this is what I found really interesting. On the 13 Pro, the minimum ISO you could get was ISO 34.
Okay.
On the 14 Pro, the minimum ISO is 57.
Yep.
Okay. So the maximum ISO on the 13 Pro was 7616. The maximum ISO on the 14 Pro, 12,768. That's a big jump. That's a big jump. And I said it before and I'll say it again, and I'll always say this. That is, to me, is why Apple's using that marketing language by saying 2 times better performance in low light. I think that's what they're talking about, is that jump in the maximum ISO.
Yep. The jump in the ISO doesn't necessarily mean it's better. If the sensor can't handle that high ISO, who gives a shit? Yeah. So time will tell in that regard.
Yeah, because higher ISO means more noise.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
How have you found the battery on yours?
Oh, all day.
Do you have the always on display on?
Yep. I really like that. Yeah.
See, I've had there's been a couple of days. Yep. And there's mine. Turned it off.
Yeah.
Turned it off. I found that I was probably 3 days, I reckon, where I thought, shit, my phone didn't, at lunchtime, I thought my phone didn't bloody charge last night. It's at like 56%. And I thought, what the hell is going on here? And that night I made sure it was charging. The next day, it was like between 50 and 60% at midday. I thought, this is not right. I turned that always on display off. And that thing now is much better than the 13 Pro Max. I could probably go 3 days without charging that thing.
Yeah.
I found that always on display to be chewing through the power that maybe it's because I'm also in an area where it's lower signal, so it's always searching for a signal over what noise is.
That like if I'm at work and we got a bad signal in at work, my battery doesn't last very long at all.
Yeah, right.
But in the town I live in, we got really good signal in most places, so it's not an issue.
Yeah, I find that if I go, this is how good the signal is in where I live. If I in this room here in the house, I can use my phone. I can go to other rooms in the house and I can't use my phone. So I put onto Wi-Fi calling when we're at home. If I go to work where I work on a dairy 3 days a week, if I go to one side of the farm, no problem. But if I'm on the other side of the farm, there's no way I'm making a phone call. There's no signal.
That's crazy.
It is. We're on the bleeding edge of technology here down under.
Yeah.
In my experience with S22 and others, as far as binning is concerned, I don't think it's efficient. And just having purely larger photo sites, the 200 megapixel would be concerning to me on a sensor that's that small. In saying that, I've printed out the 108 megapixels, and it printed incredibly well. Like the detail, and I did it. I think it was like A1 maybe or AO poster. It was a big poster. I had it up here. I don't know if you remember that, Greg. I had it up here behind me for a while.
Yeah.
It was a really big poster. It didn't matter how close you got to this image. The detail was sharp. But the time that I took this photo was in the middle of the day. It was perfect lighting. You couldn't ask for a better setup. And it's these things where they're talking about the bigger megapixels, the higher number of megapixels. I think that can be a little bit deceptive because it doesn't work all the time. It's only going to work maybe half of the time. If you're out at the sunsets and stuff, it's possibly not going to work for you. It's only when it's the perfect lighting situation that you're going to be able to push the sensor that hard. And that's the case with all phones. Doesn't matter what brand. You can throw as many big numbers in there as you want, but if the lighting isn't right, that's what photography is. It's not going to work well for you. So that 200, I've heard that 200 megapixel as well, and that's a bit of a concern in my head. That's a bit of a concern too. 22 Ultra available as well. iPhone. Stick with the Ultra. I would say stick with what you want. Both of those are going to be very capable phones. I don't. You can't really go wrong. You can't go wrong.
I mean, it could boil down to whether you like Android or iOS. Myself, I just prefer iOS to Android, and it's that's just me. It's a very personal choice.
Yep. It's you're not going to go wrong though. You pick whatever one is best for your pocket. They're both roughly the same sort of price, I think. What your ecosystem is, and
I always say if you're on Windows, use Android. If you're on Mac, use an iPhone. But I mean, that's, again, it's subjective.
Yeah. You probably need to send that out in like carrier pigeon or smoke signals for those folks with Windows, because you just know that those suckers have got viruses all through their machine. Yeah. More viruses than a sailor walking through King's Cross on a Saturday night after payday. Same question though. Also, I think light painting so long is going to be necessary as it continues to learn. I'm not sure what that means. The lower ISOs. Well, with the light painting, you're going to be able to, regardless of what system that you use for your light painting, whether it's even longer or reflex or, I hate this word, re-expose. I don't like the way they've named that. But any of those, you're still going to be able to set your ISO anyway, especially now with even longer, you can manually do it. So you can set the ISO where you want it to be, and you want it to be as low as you can possibly do it for light painting. Does shooting third-party camera apps? Yes, that's always been the case. I don't know any that don't do it. You're talking about the photonic engine here, I'm assuming. Thoughts, Greg?
I'm not 100% sure. Okay, does shooting with a third-party camera app bypass some of the over-sharpening that I'm seeing in HEIF and JPEG files? I'll be honest with you, I really don't know, because I've been using the Apple camera a lot. I use reflex at times, but I've really been using the Apple camera just because I want to try things, and there's things that it'll do that even reflex won't do. Like with the 2x for one. I don't think there's anybody that has that part yet. Well, maybe Halide does, but I haven't really pixel peeped to enough to find that out. So
well, in the ones that I've used, especially when I first started this channel, I was testing a lot of apps. I don't know if you remember that, way back when I was doing like slow shutter and moment and also bloody heaps to try and get a galactic hall photo. And with all of those, I noticed that it wasn't doing the over sharpening, the over computational aspects that comes with the iPhone. None of them really did it to the level that the camera app did. And when I use things like reflex or even longer, which is pretty much the go-to for what I do, really, that's their own system. Like you're setting everything yourself, and you can't do what I do with those apps with the native camera app. So it's hard to say that they're doing it, because I don't think that they are. I hope that makes sense. Did I answer that very well? I feel like I don't. Can't even speak this morning. Bloody hell. You can start walking on it. Well done. You'll be jumping around like Skippy in no time.
Yeah.
The new iPhone is out. Really? That's a massive jump from an XR or a 10R.
10R.
That's such a huge jump. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. That is such an improvement on the camera. From everyone that I've spoken to about this phone, this 14, I've basically said if you're an 11 or older, I'd do it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The 12 and 13, I don't think is that big of a jump to justify the cost to it. Some of it is, but you have to be like Greg, you have to be very passionate about what you're doing to go from the 12 to the 14. There's some things in that, like that megapixel, the 48 megapixel for what you're doing, it just kind of makes sense to me. But from a 12 Pro Max, 13 Pro Max to a 14, personally, I don't see for the average user, I don't see a big need to do it. But from an XR or 10R,
that's a big jump.
Yeah, that's absolutely worth it every day of the week. 13 Pro Max, when I use the camera, some darker environment, switching to 3 times, it doesn't use it. Correct. That's what it does. Yep, absolutely.
The only way around that is to use an app like Halide or Reflex or camera. One of these apps that give you the manual selection for the cameras.
Yep. So you can manually select that camera to use. I was going to say lens, but I didn't say lens.
Yeah, because it's not just a lens; it's a camera.
When I was listening
Somebody
to that,
listen to my rant.
Yes. And did you rant? I'm surprised you didn't put an apology at the end of it all just to cover everything.
Well, I should have. I am Canadian.
Yes, that's right. Hey, 30 passenger goes high 64. I think that's right. But did you say 6,400? I can't remember. But I reckon that's rough. I reckon that's on the money when you were reading out the specs before. Upgrading from the 10S to the 14 Prom Max. I'm guessing that's just a typo and not a graduation ceremony. I'm looking forward to many updates from well, it's huge. The difference in those two is just going to be
because
incredible.
I have the 10S and I have the 14 Pro Max, and I can tell you are in for a very pleasant experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I don't know. Is the photonic engine stacking shots in RAW like a pixel? Oh, do you mean Astro stuff? It's always done that, but not like a pixel. So
yeah, the image pipeline went from 9 images, 8 or I think it was 9 images. This year it went up to about 12, and the photonic engine kicks in on the uncompressed data. So yeah, I would say it's doing it on the raw stuff, and then to give you the JPEG, then it shrinks it down to the 12 megapixel, whatever, and then gives you the output. And that's what enables you to shoot Pro RAW on the 48 megapixel sensor in 48 megapixels in size, because it does it all before it does any further processing.
Yeah. There was a, would you call it an argument? It was almost an argument, because I got to the point with some of the comments on YouTube on the videos. I'd had it up to here with that use 48 megapixel at nighttime. What are you doing? You don't know what you're talking about. I was like, and this was part of it. It was like, Pixel takes a 4-minute long photo. It's impossible for it to be able to do that without star trails. And like, learn how the freaking thing works before you open your pie hole, you moron. But it was, see, there you go. I'm just thinking about that dickhead now. Hopefully he's watching it. He's just going to like start ragging on me again. It's this here, like the Pixel 6 takes 16-second long photos, 16 of them, stacks them for star alignment for Astro. The iPhone doesn't do it quite that way. If you look at the metadata on the photos, it always says 10 seconds. It says 10 seconds on the 12? Definitely the 13 and definitely the 14. Prior to that, it said like 1, 2, or 3 seconds. And it would take multiples, and then it would stack them for focus and for exposure, not for alignment. So the stars always had a tail on them, and that's still there. There's nothing you can do about that. You can go ahead and take, like, bring your night mode down to 10 seconds and shoot multiples of that and stack it manually. You're still going to have the star trails.
Nothing. The only way around that is to use that hardware that tracks the stars.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's the only way.
Yep. A lot of questions coming here. I returned my iPhone. The camera wasn't an upgrade. In Shane's first video, sticking with the 13 Pro Max. Don't understand. What's DxO mark?
DxO mark rating. Yeah, DxO, they do ratings on the hardware every year on smartphones.
I've never heard of that. You think a bloke who has a YouTube channel about cameras on a smartphone would know about that?
Well, Joanne Carter, you've heard of the App Whisperer?
Yes.
Her husband works at DxO.
Is that right?
Yeah. No, I've never spoke to him. I know her quite well, but I've never spoke to him. But I'd like to pick his brain a little bit. Of course, there's probably a lot of things he won't be able to say or won't want to say or can't say.
Yep. I wouldn't mind reaching out to her, actually. We've never had a female photographer a female guest come on the show, besides Sarah.
Yeah.
And I've seen, I reckon, the App Whisperer on Twitter, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that her handle everywhere?
That's the website. That's basically her.
Oh, okay. Yep. I've just seen her on Twitter there and seen some of the photos there. She's pretty bloody talented. But to answer your question, I think it's going to get better. And that's what we're discussing before. Over time, I think this is going to get better. Personally, I wouldn't have returned it just yet. Mind you, if I was living in the city and I could just walk down the road and say, give me the damn thing back, I don't know, maybe that would be different. For me, I'm kind of stuck with time because I'm so far away from everything that I kind of go, just suck it up and see what happens. And I think it'll get better. Is the Halide app used? I don't know. I don't use Halide. You used to use Halide a fair bit, Greg.
Yeah, and I still have it.
Yep.
Is it useful with the 14 Pro Max, or stock camera apps getting as good? Honestly, I think the team at Halide are absolutely brilliant. One of them used to work for Apple, so I mean they've got some pretty good talent there. The other one, Ben, he used to work. I think he helped develop the app, the Twitter mobile app. And Rebecca, I'm not sure what her history is. She's the newest member of the team, but they wrote their app so that it gives you sharper images at the cost of maybe a little noise when you're shooting RAW. Because if you shoot, say, RAW and JPEG, the RAW or the JPEG image will fire first with basically whatever the Apple camera would give you. But when they do their RAW shot, it will bump up the ISO maybe by a stop to give you that little bit faster shutter speed to give you a sharper image. And you could shoot Pro RAW or you could shoot just straight RAW. So yeah, I think they're a little better than the Apple camera. I mean, I used them for years faithfully, 98% of the time until I got onto Reflex. I just like Reflex's user interface better. Everything's front and center for you. It's just, personal preference. But, I still keep Halide on there. And, once in a while, I'll open it back up and try it out. But yeah, it's definitely better than the stock camera app, I would say.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough. I think I used Halide way back early in the piece when I was trying to get better detail in the night sky. But other than that, I never used it. And I think we've discussed this before. I'm going to say, unless I'm doing a long exposure photo, yeah, that would be the only reason. I'm using the native camera app because, well, people who made the damn thing made the phone. So
yeah.
It should be the best for everyday photography.
And I think it should be noted that more and more apps are starting to come out with the ability to shoot 48 megapixel JPEGs.
Yep.
Halide, Camera M. I think there was another one. Pro Camera does it. So and it won't be long before the guys at Reflex get it. I would imagine too.
Yeah. I think that question was more towards a camera comparison between a camera for what I do here. There are so many aspects to these cameras in both camps that it goes back to what we were saying before. You can't really go wrong with either one of those when you compare those two cameras. When you compare the cameras on both of those phones, one has obvious, the telephoto and so forth, but one has the ease of use. One, from my point of view, for astrophotography only, the S22 just kills it. It's incredible. In saying that, I use the iPhone every day. My S22 Ultra has never had a SIM card in it, ever. It's there just as a camera to do videos on the channel, because I've made no secret about it. I'm the Apple person with what I have here. So it just doesn't make sense for me to use that as my phone every day. Hope that makes sense. You can't go wrong with either. Wouldn't it make sense for Samsung to make the 12 Ultra? I'm not sure what that means. Oh, to bin it all the time by default? Not necessarily. You're going to be able to print bigger with a larger megapixel rating, in theory. We'll see what that's like. I should probably print some. That's worth a video, I reckon. Let's let me make a note of that. I think you'll be able to print bigger. To me, it just makes sense. You haven't printed anything yet, have you? No, you haven't done your big ass print yet.
Not yet.
Your big ass print. I know it's not. iPhone 15 Ultra. You mean Pro? You're getting the.
We're calling it Ultra.
We're calling it Ultra.
Yeah, because they got the Apple Watch Ultra.
Oh God!
You know what? I want to enjoy my 14 Pro Max. I don't even care about what they're saying about the 15 right now. It's it's too far out. It's a long ways away yet. Maybe that's why I've got the name I've got on my display here, the old curmudgeon. But for crying out loud, they're still harping about the 14 and the issues it's having and everything else. Let's get through that first before we start trying to predict what the 15 has. I mean,
I tell you what, you talk about the iPhone 14 and the issues that it has. You're probably not members of these different photography groups on Facebook. There's a Google Pixel group. I don't even think it's a proper photography group. It's just a Google Pixel group. Man, these guys hate on anything other than the Google Pixel. It's hilarious. When this thing came out, when that Pixel came out, that thing launched so badly, and I've said a few times, like, this thing, it's incredibly inconsistent. It's incredible photos that you can pull out of this thing most of the time, and then randomly it'll just throw out a shit photo. It doesn't make sense to me.
That's the 6.
That's the 6, yeah. And I'll look on their group from time to time. As to be honest, I go there for a bit of a laugh now, because they're just so, like, blinkers on. Google Pixel is the best. I don't care what else. It's freaking hilarious. And they're all talking about the 7 at the moment. And the 7, I think, comes out soon. But to be honest, after being burnt with that one, I don't think I'll even get the 7. Yeah. I get this sort of comment a lot here on this channel. Let me explain again. All the phones that I review on the channel, I buy myself with my own money. And iPhones, I'll buy one per year. And all the other ones, I've got a Huawei there just to see what the camera system was like. It's great. I've got a Pixel just because of the astrophotography aspect of it. When people and iPhones, they make 4 a year or 5 a year, depending on the year. Android phones make hundreds a year. I can't afford to do that. So when people are like, do a video with this one, well, send it to me and I will. It's as simple as that. I can't afford to go buy these things all the time. The rumored 200 megapixel compared to the 128. Low light, ability to take in light given all. The battery will explode.
It's sad to see that. Samsung, they make some great phones, they make some phenomenal cameras, but their batteries, like, what is going on? Like, I don't know. It's a sad story because it's scary. I mean, it's really scary when you think about it. But I guess the main issue there is that they've been sitting for so long, not doing anything. And I guess because they're not being used, it has something to do with, the ions in the battery and all this stuff. And
yeah, maybe. Yeah. I think when I put that video on there on our group, the thing that I took away from that video more than anything else is how many freaking phones this guy has. He's got a room with racks of phones. It's just
yeah,
crazy. Yeah, crazy. I bet
Brownlee
people aren't telling him to.
a stash like
What's
that too. Marquez Brownlee has a stash like that too.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy. Whereas I go, I can't make any more content on this. I'm selling that phone to buy another.
Yeah. I sold my 12 Pro Max. I had one outing to shoot them side by side to try to compare them, and
Yep.
and then some kid wanted to buy it. So
Gone. That's right. I hear the telephoto lens is getting a massive upgrade all the way to 3.5. I think you're going to find, Patrica, it's going to go to 3.75.
yeah,
He loves to stir the pot, that guy.
Yeah.
Crop sensors have limitations physically. Absolutely. Yep. Can't argue that. Greg says it comes down to OS. Yes. If we went for the S Pen, I'd pick up. Oh, really? That's interesting. For the S Pen. See, I reckon I've used it twice to take a photo. I don't think I've ever used an S Pen otherwise in that phone. Anyway, each horses for courses. Vivo knocking pixel off as king in the hill of astrophotography. Man, so much talk about this Vivo. I'm going to have to see if I can get one because they're not available here. I might have to reach out to them. I don't think I've got enough subscribers yet to say, give me a phone. I don't know. Have an iPhone 11 Pro Max. I want to upgrade to the 14. I'm going to say to you, it's not all about astrophotography here. If you're already playing with iPhone, any iPhone, if you've not used an Android before, I would say stay with the iPhone. The S22 is better for astrophotography. The learning curve, if you've not had Android before, is depending on, it's all individual, but it's possibly going to be a steep learning curve for you. I say often enough that the Android platform is for the admins and the iOS platform is for the user. Like the admins, you can do some incredible stuff on the Androids, but you've got to know how to do it all. It's not just as simple and intuitive as what iOS is, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've always said iPhones for people who just want to do stuff. Android is for people who don't mind tinkering a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
I watch it's just because they're so customizable, right?
Absolutely. Sam Beckman, I don't know if you remember him. I've had him on the show here. Mm-hmm. He's an incredibly good YouTuber. I learned so much from that guy after we finished the live stream about YouTube because he's another Aussie guy. And he stays so in his lane when it comes to what he does on the channel, and he does it really, really well. And what he does is all apps for phones, and like the top 20 apps for the year. And this is how I customize my Android. You go and watch the stuff that he does. It's like next level stuff. He makes it easy to understand. But I look at it and go, that's really cool. But on the iPhone, I just go that and it's done. It's not as done as well as what you can do there, but it's quicker. So I don't know, they're just different. They're just different. Yeah. What I've seen with the sharpening issue, as long as you shoot HEF or Pro RAW in reflex as well, and when you shoot just normal RAW, it doesn't do it. Well, that makes sense. Normal RAW is not Pro RAW.
And when you shoot Pro RAW, like let's not forget that when you edit the image, you can take down the local tone map slider. You can shut it right off. Then you're left with just what the raw file would be anyway. Or you can, kind of adjust it to anywhere in between to take that Pro RAW image processing stuff that they add to the raw file and you can just dial it down. Like I've done that many times in Pro RAW images I've taken. If I find if it has an over sharpened look to it, dial down the local tone map, but you have to have an app that does this, and most of them do now, like Lightroom Mobile if you subscribe to the Adobe thing, but Darkroom, Raw Power, and probably others. You can slide that down to decrease the effect of the imaging pipeline. And sometimes I find it works great.
Yep. Not really an iPhone user. The video is outstanding. I can't argue it. The video is it's awesome.
Yeah.
It was actually one of the comments on that Google group that I said that they were saying, oh, the Google Pixel 6 video is so much better than the new iPhone 14. You what? Just go away.
They probably haven't even seen any footage.
It's crazy. I'm not. Wait a minute. This is a response to something else because I'm new. No. Oh, did we have a question before? Oh, that was that one. Yeah, I'm going to see if I can get my hands on one of these things. There's too many people talking about it, and it seems very, very niche for what I do. So, as in, falls in the niche of what I do. I think I'm going to have to try and get my hands on one. The Xiaomi 12S Ultra. Yep, that's true. Just like Huawei, I guess. I wonder if social media platforms will increase their picture. No. Haven't you heard that Facebook and Apple don't get along?
Hey, did you hear about the big lawsuit?
Nope.
I think it's Apple that's suing Facebook because, okay, Apple put this thing out about app tracking. So, they've blocked app tracking if people choose to do so when using Facebook, like say the Facebook app on their iPhone. And Facebook nefariously, okay, so you click on a link when you're in Facebook on the app, and you click on a link. It takes you to a website. You think you're in, a version of Safari that's built into Facebook or whatever, but no, Facebook was, and if that was the case, then they wouldn't be able to track you, right?
Yeah.
If you have that app tracking turned, to not allow it. So what Facebook was doing, the dirty, rotten bastards, was they were disabling, embedding code into that whatever website you went to so that they could still track you.
Yeah, right.
Your surfing experience, as long as you're still in the Facebook app, like a lot of these apps have built-in browsers. Well, it's supposed to use Safari, but it was using this code to track you wherever you went, basically bypassing your wishes to not be tracked. And
right.
No.
So I haven't heard of this. How long has this lawsuit been going on?
Not too long. So it's just basically starting, I think, as far as I know. I just heard about it the other day.
Yeah, right. That's very interesting.
I hope they take Facebook right to the cleaners. And the problem is
we're streaming to Facebook here as well, right?
Oh yeah. I don't care. Come at me, Mark. I hate Facebook, but I have to use it because that's where everybody is.
Yeah. I tell you what, but I don't know what it is, but here where I live in this little small town, I think it's probably since the big C around the world. There's so many conspiracy theorists. Well, no, there's not so many. There's a few. They just have a big voice on social media. It just does my freaking head in. And if it wasn't for doing what I do as a creator or with my photography business, I wouldn't be on freaking social media at all. But it's sometimes I look at some of the comments that people make, and I think you can tell that you've never said that to someone in person because you haven't got a broken freaking nose. That's how I feel about it. It's just does my head in. It's like you can get the best of the best, and you can get this. Yes.
To Dale's point there, the image viewing experience on Vero is quite nice compared to Facebook and Instagram.
Yep, that's a good point.
And same with Glass. I mean, I'll throw Glass in there too because I'm posting Glass all the time. Like all my latest stuff goes to Glass and Vero. I've posted maybe 4 or 5 images to Instagram in the last 2 or 3 months.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm enjoying that view. I don't really get onto YouTube to Instagram much really at all now. I couldn't even tell. The following doesn't really interest me that much now. I joke with Sarah about it because I've got more followers on Instagram than what she does, but it really doesn't. I don't enjoy it that much anymore. I'll go through when I look at Instagram now, when I scroll through the feed, I would say a third of it is people that I have followed, a third of it is advertising, and a third of it is suggested for shit that I don't want anything to do with anyway.
Yeah,
it's a waste of time. And if it's not videos, like that thing was a photographer's platform for when it first started. That's what it was meant to be. And now it just seems to be more videos and reels and stuff. I'm like, yeah, you know my thoughts on Instagram, dude.
Oh yeah.
I know astrophotography is a niche mode. We talked about this last time, but why do we have ProRes? I don't know. I can't argue with that. I 100% super Zach. Of course it's Zach. I reckon this guy, it's like an earworm, this guy in my head. He says stuff that I go, yeah, man, I totally agree. It's him.
He's inside your head.
Yeah, it does my head. He's absolutely on the money. It's ProRes is. I haven't met anyone yet who uses ProRes.
Well, here's the thing about ProRes. There are people making feature films with the iPhone now. So why not put ProRes in? I mean, it's not for everybody. I have yet to use it or even try it because I don't have a use for it. But I mean, Steven Spielberg made a music video with it, with the iPhone. Sure. You know, there's people that have made feature length films with the iPhone, and ProRes just gives them the tools that they need or they want to do such a thing.
100% agree with that.
You know, there's a lot of filmmakers.
That's reinforcing his point there. That's absolutely reinforcing his point. It's such a niche thing.
It is.
No, we're talking about Steven Spielberg for crying out loud. It's so niche that ProRes. Why wouldn't it have an Astro mode? It just makes sense to me. But
I know. I was disappointed in the latest keynote when they didn't say. I mean, they mentioned astrophotography in a sentence about all this other stuff about low light. I was completely disappointed that they didn't actually feature a little, even a 20-second spot, 10-second spot on astrophotography, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Kind of pissed me off, really.
I don't know if you and I doing this on a regular basis is a good thing. You're gonna start swearing like a sailor.
The word "piss" is in the Bible, so I could say it.
What about but that day that you said "g'day"? Is that in the?
We have no proof that ever happened. We have no proof.
I'm gonna have to look at this DxO mark. I can't comment, but because I've never seen it.
I haven't looked at it in a couple of years either myself, so I don't know.
That actually makes a lot of sense. What Dave's saying there. What I'm doing here on this channel and what other people do with this phone in low light. When I get all excited, I've got what's it, TubeBuddy that I use. That's what I use as my it's like my tool for YouTube. It tells me what keywords I should use, how to set up SEO for the video and stuff like that. And it's a very good tool, but it also, I set alerts on TubeBuddy to say, hey, when iPhone low light or when iPhone astrophotography comes out, I want to be alerted to see what other people are being able to achieve with this phone. And I do that with all the phones that I have and just different keywords, and it alerts me that when a new video comes out. And there was one for iPhone 14 Pro Max low light, and it was amazing. It was a reasonably good sized YouTuber, and then he proceeded to walk around the streets of London and take photos at night. Oh, for fuck's sake, give me a break. Low light, like that is low light, but there's still so much ambient light. It's ridiculous. get out there to really low light and see what this thing can do compared
is this
to
the
what
guy
these other phones
that
are
had
doing.
the first person view from his chest basically and showing his hands and what he was doing? Yeah,
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
enjoy that video.
It was a good video.
And it was basically low light, so but it wasn't nighttime like well, I mean it was, I guess, but I don't know.
It was low
It
light,
certainly
not
was
no
no
light.
astro stuff.
But yeah, and this is what Dave's getting at there. I think there are so many more people who are going to do what he did in that video compared to what I do in my videos. Yeah. So it makes sense like that.
Yeah.
That I don't personally, I don't think that we'll ever see an astro mode on an iPhone. That's my gut feeling. At least on X10R, hello, as low as possible with shooting and draw. Yep, makes sense. It's pretty remarkable how. Yeah, absolutely. I don't. Do you even buy point and shoot cameras anymore?
Do they even make them? Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I remember when we go to Japan, we go to Tokyo first before we go skiing or after we go skiing, and there's these camera shops. I can't remember what they're bloody called. I just know where they are. Then they're big stores, and there's like lots of them around Tokyo, and they're basically tech stores. And the camera parts of those stores, and they're big. I mean, like 6 or 7 levels to this.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and the camera places in there. I'd love to go back there now, and we'll go back there at some point soon enough. I'd love to go back there and just to see how many point and shoot cameras there are now, because I just don't think they're there anymore. Like the camera that I'm using here right now, you could probably say is a point and shoot camera, but this is the ZV-1. This is basically a vlogging camera that was designed for YouTube creation. But I just don't think, with how far phones have come now, the cameras on phones, I don't think with how far they've come that point and shoot, I'd be surprised to see any in there, to be honest. If there is, it's probably a really small section.
Yeah.
Really small. Yeah. The Vivo has much better optics than the new sensor. Google has proven you don't need the newest. Absolutely. If it wasn't for the software that Google's putting into their phones, they'd be a pretty shit phone. Yeah. I don't think anyone could argue with that. No worries. That's what we do. That's kind of the whole point of what we're doing here. Just purchased Reflex Suite. Thank you so much for answering the question. Saved me $50. How did we save them $50? I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe he was going to buy a heap of other apps or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
My cup is empty here, trying to learn the tidbits of info here. I do not support the typical expert in everything for my personal. I'm no expert in everything. I'm no expert in anything. That comment about the 48 megapixel conversion above was referring to your video where everyone was asking the same question. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yep, I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You're on Vero. I think if you guys are on Vero, just put your username here. I don't really follow many people on Vero at all.
I think I've got Pachuca on there.
He's probably there as like the iPhone hater or something. Yeah, that's the, in my opinion, probably the best thing about Vero is that you can zoom right into those photos. Fantastic for landscape. Yep. Entire screen. Yep. I choose to believe the iPhone 21
Quantum Pro, Ultra Pro Max.
Oh, I showed Greg this before. I don't know if you guys saw this. So this is my iPhone 13 Pro Max, and that there is a quad lock case. Do you get? I'm sure you get quad lock over there, don't you?
Oh yeah.
It's a worldwide thing, I'm sure.
I see ads on Instagram all the time. Well, I did before I really quit looking at it.
That's because we're talking about it now. You wait and see what you get now.
Oh yeah.
And this one here, it hasn't got. Trying to get the focus on that. It's got a little bit of a bump there. And if I brought out the 11 that I've got, the bump to get that lock in there is huge. It's like you got this flat phone that is big mound in front of it, and this is the 14. Look at how no bump at all. And this ring here, that's the MagSafe ring, so you can. I don't need to take the cover off this or anything for MagSafe for wireless charging. I just put it on my wireless charger and it does that. That there is, you can take that out. So it comes with a black one. And that's basically a magnet that just goes into this. You punch it out from the inside and it comes on out with, it looks like a SIM card remover, actually. That little bad boy right there.
Yeah.
But that is nice and flat. So it's so good that Quad Lock now have a case that's flat. Just a side note. Not sponsored at all.
Get in touch. Yeah.
I don't think the link is clickable. What link? Mobile photography pick. Cool. What else do I want to talk about? Let me just read my notes real quickly. We spoke about other YouTubers. Do you want to talk about that fellow who just liked to rag on the iPhone on YouTube that you spent a bit of time, or you don't want to cover that? You've covered that enough.
Yeah, I can mention that. He's got things so wrong. Now, okay, I talk about the iPhone because that's what I use. That's what I know. I don't want to come across as a fanboy, but when I know something and how it works, and someone who claims they know gets it wrong, it just disturbs me, because he was saying about the 48 megapixel sensor. He was saying how it's binning. Okay, yeah, it's binning, but you can use it in 48 megapixels. I mean, that's a fact. Apple said that when they announced the damn thing.
Yep.
And he's saying that when he was talking about the 2x, not camera, but the 2x focal range or whatever, where it takes that center part out of the frame, 12 megapixels out of the center of the 48 megapixel frame.
Yep.
He was saying that, well, you're shooting a 12 megapixel, but it's binned, so you're only getting 3 megapixels. Shut up. Give me a break. He should know better than that.
Well, should he though? Like he's been around for a long time,
and I've heard he's got a lot of things wrong in the past.
I was going to say just that I think when I came across him was when I was probably first getting into photography. Well, it was probably when I first started shooting weddings, and through searching, I found him, and he was doing a lot of tutorials on posing and stuff like that, around weddings and that. And it was I first came across him then, and because of the way the algorithm works with YouTube, I get suggested videos from those guys, from the two of them, probably once every month or two, and you watch them and you go, that's not how that works, dude. But then you go through his videos, you go through that video, the channel like list of videos, and you see there are so many like, yeah, we got that wrong sort of videos. How he screwed up, and then he's gone away and researched and gone, oh yeah, I didn't say that right at all. I just bagged the shit out of something, and I didn't do that right. And he absolutely did that in that video. I watched that video. I thought, that you're just so wrong. Like I looked at it and I thought, from a creator point of view, I looked at it and I thought, are you just trying to rile up people so you can get some good click through, like get some good revenue raising off that single video?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. And that's that conversation is the reason that I asked that question at the beginning of this video. Like, what do you want from a YouTube creator when it comes to phones? Because I looked at that and I went, that's just bullshit. Absolute bullshit. And I watched Peter McKinnon the other day talking about the GoPro 11, and I think he's using because he's sponsored by Canon, so he's got every Canon product friggin' known to man, I think, in his armory cage. And he was talking about the GoPro 11 was I'm paraphrasing, was shit for vlogging. But I'm like, so many people vlog with GoPros, it's ridiculous. And it's so easy, it's so small. A lot of the four-wheel driving channels that I watch is that they just use GoPros. And it just makes sense because they're so small, they're Tonka tough. And he's bagging on it. Meanwhile, he's using this R5 handheld, and because the stabilization on the R5, it is friggin' horrible. It bounces everything around as you move it all. And he even makes a point of saying, "Oh, just look at that background. It's all going everywhere. I'm just going to put it on this ground here and put it on a tripod to vlog." No, vlogging is walking around with the damn thing. You know, it's showing people around and what you are experiencing. And I'm like, you're bagging out this little camera because you're sponsored by the bigger camera, and then pointing out what's wrong with the bigger camera. To me, that just was a bit.
But
the hypocrisy, you know,
umpteen gazillion viewers of his channel, they won't probably care.
Probably not. But that's why I was asking that question, though. What is it that you expect from that? I used to watch Peter McKinnon a lot. He's incredibly talented, and I still watch him. I reckon I watch every video that he pushes out, to be honest, and mainly for watching how he makes the videos, because he's so clever with how he makes his videos. Like that magician side of things that he does is it's next level shit. So I watch what he does and I go, that's what he is. What can I bring into my videos that's more about what I am? So that's it. That's kind of why I watch his stuff. When is the next 14 Pro Max Astro video coming? Well, when the skies are clear. It's looking pretty good tonight, so we'll see. The moon's starting to become a factor. That might even help what's happening with that extra bit of light. So we'll see. I came across Tony. Tony? Who's Tony? I'm not sure who you're talking about.
Tony who? I name dropped on the podcast, and I maybe shouldn't have, but I didn't care.
Yeah, it'll end up being one of these things where there's going to be like a photo of you and I on his channel going, "These two guys bagged me and watch what I say about them."
Yeah. Well, you know, I left comment on his video that, you know, I kind of made my point.
Yep.
You know, about and that was before I even had the phone. And I said, this is how it's going to work. And if it doesn't, you know, I said, I'll bet my lunch on it. And sure enough, I was right. He was wrong.
Yeah.
And he had the phone.
I know. But I don't know. I don't know. I can't make sense of that sort of stuff. I just can't. I'll show you this photo. When's that video coming out? It'll come out on Tuesday, my time. Can I make that? Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a single shot.
Nice.
Look at the dynamic range in that. So that's a fireplace. The vehicle's lit up, and you can see the galactic core. Like that's one image. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Pretty chuffed with that. I saw a on the Facebook group. Let me just get rid of that. On the Facebook group, it was talking about there was an image there that had what was it? I'll see if I can find it because I saw it there. I was like, I've just finished shooting a video about this. There it is. There. Someone's camping, galactic core in Queensland. Philip Muller.
Oh, yeah.
Muller or Muller? Not sure. He's got a little caravan going on there, fireplace, car behind it, galactic core, and the moon. That's a pretty bloody good shot. Yeah.
That is.
Yeah. So between that and that, well, That's a single image, not edited. That's straight out of the camera. Pretty bloody cool. And I enjoyed shooting that video. I enjoyed editing that video. You'll see it on Tuesday. All this talk about new tech and phones.
Andy Green would wipe the floor with that. He would mop the floor with that.
We don't need to do that. Yeah. Yeah. I was just about to say we don't need to show what old phones can do. That
I would not go up against him. No way, no how. No, not even going to happen.
Yeah. He, I think it was Will Newcomb. He said something along the lines of the best bit of kit you have is your brain, or something like that. And Andy proves that time and time again. Like the photos that he takes, you can even have a look there if we want to. I guarantee we'll have some of his here. Let's go back to the top. How many members we got here? 2,000 peoples. That looks like one of his. And it is. Like that's from what's he using? A 7.
7 Plus.
An iPhone 7. 7 Plus. But that's just ridiculous. It's so good.
Be nice if we could see it.
So very. Hey, I'm looking at it all on my own. It's so impressive. There you go. Have a look at that.
There we go. Yeah. I have seen that though, but yeah, it's just brilliant.
It's so good having you there, because if it was just me, I'd be saying, "This is awesome." And people, what the f- are you talking about? Every time I see one of his photos, I'm just like, "That's just crazy good for a bloody phone." This here really impressed me too.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's a very, very good concept. There's something that I used to do with Astro, which was bringing the aperture wide open and focusing on a foreground subject, lighting that and having all the stars blurry. Mm-hmm. Very cool way and I haven't tried it with a phone that I could get it to actually work. But star trails, that kind of makes sense. I'll probably end up doing a video similar to that. Oh, did you see this? See who this is?
Yeah, he's putting them on Vero, I think. And he's just killing it with those. Those are amazing.
He did point out, I'm not sure if he's posted them. That looks like his as well.
Yep.
No, he did point out there was a couple there that had some pretty good issues in them. And it's none of those ones. Maybe he didn't post it. Where there was like a random green tinge and like a random shadow and stuff. No, they're not in there. He sent them in that private group chat that I was talking about before.
Oh yeah.
I'll see if I can get them for him for next time we get together. Why do people do this?
Oh, it's a wide, like a panoramic shot, and Facebook offers the choice to do that. And I always say no. Nope,
kills it.
Don't want it.
Yeah. This here is probably one of the best photos I've seen on this group for ages. It's a shot that you got to look at and then look at and look at.
It's obviously inverted.
It's very clever. Very clever. I like it. It works well.
Lee is a good photographer. He takes some nice stuff.
Oh, that is Lee. I didn't realize that was Lee.
Yeah.
From the UK. He's got the other group there. What's it called? The
mobile only photography, I think.
Yeah. The MOPS. MOPS. Can't go wrong with the Steiger. Case Steiger. I think I even commented on that photo. This one was really cool.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very nice photo. What was that with? 13 Pro Max. There you go. You can't say it's bad because that guy carries a gun for a living.
Yeah, really.
That looks like Aurora Australis. Looks like our auroras that we see down here. Another one from Dale. Yeah, you can just tell.
Yep.
The thing that what's that?
Quintessential Dale.
Yeah. It's something with even longer that no one else seems to have been able to do very well. And that's the color that's in those stars. Everyone else is capturing star trails. That is just every one of these. It's amazing.
Following his image, like the one that he posted, it was either him or you. You had a basketball net in one, right?
Yep.
And then he had one with like a hydro pole. And well, I've got a hydro pole right in my backyard, so I set my camera up, let it go for 4 hours, and got nice trails out of the 3x camera. And I did get the coloring in the stars. I was pretty happy with it.
Yep. I was just reading these comments here. Man, I'm not going to be able to remember how to type that. Just a second. I think I know who you're talking about, actually. So look at this. This is me going and look at his comments and go, you know what? He is like me, this bloke. Actually, Zach, are you the same Zach that I sent something to? Did I send you something? I think you might be the same Zach. Maybe it was a case for S21 or screen protector or something like that. Are you the same Zach? I think. Brig. I think this is.
Have you seen David Addison's video on the the iPhone 14 Pro camera and what is the quad pixel sensor?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
This is the fellow who's used. Oh, it's even longer. It's not who I thought. I'm sure it is. Yeah, this is the same guy. This here is the photo that I had, and he's edited up, which is quite cool.
That is cool.
But, yeah, it's in Photoshop where he's done this. Yeah. What I do like though is how the stars, not so much the galactic core, that looks good too, but the stars. He's lost a lot of the stars, but it's also a lot of the noise that he's lost there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't mind that, but that's done. If I remember rightly, this is done in Photoshop. And what I found is the videos that I do 100% of the work on the phone just seem to do better than when I take them off the phone and put them on a computer. So I don't know. I'm in two minds about doing that sort of thing. But you can't argue with that result. It's a bloody good photo.
Mm-hmm.
The edit that he's done on that is great. I think he was the same fellow who was using, what was it called? Night. I can't remember what it was bloody called. There was an app that I never had any luck with.
Nightcap?
No, not Nightcap app. No. Cortex camera. That's it. That one there, Cortex. I never ever had any luck with this thing. I was going to say because they always look like that, but see the ground here. It's all blurry and kind of funky. Yeah, mind you, he's using an iPhone 10R.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, that's quite impressive. So. I'm not really sure what else to say about that. It was, there we go. The second picture was taken with even longer. So that's with even longer. That's interesting.
Yeah, it must have been pretty windy out with all those trees getting blurred.
I reckon they're clouds.
Oh, okay.
Well, they might be. I've got to feel, maybe. I'm not sure, mate. It could be cloud, could be cloud, could be trees. Yeah. I just assumed that they were clouds. But that's actually quite encouraging. That Cortex camera, even the even longer one, that's again stacked and processed in Photoshop. Yeah, I don't know. We get to. He's obviously talented in what he's doing there. I in my head, I kind of go, how hard do we push this? Because part of what I look at here is it's a phone, so it should just be easy. How much of it do we bring onto the computer to do it when people don't necessarily have that? Whereas if I go, hey, this is how you do this with the iPhone 13, if you have an iPhone 13, you can do it all with that iPhone 13. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, I did send him a screen protector. It is the same person. Still use it. Well, if you still got the same camera, you still use it. Andy Green. We were just rubbishing you just now. Not really. We were saying very nice things about you. Eating Shane Greg, do my images look any good on a decent size resolution? That's true, because he's only looking on a little phone. Yeah, they look fine, mate. I think they look pretty bloody good. Absolutely.
I'd go to the one right before Andy's there. David St. Jacques. How did you do a 4-hour photo? Did you merge them?
Oh,
he'll be referring to my comment about shooting a 4-hour photo with even longer. So yeah, you just set it up to go for 4 hours, and it does frame averaging, and it just stacks them through the whole process of the shooting. And then when it's done, bang, there you go. You got your 4-hour exposure. Mm-hmm. So that's how it's done. I mean, you can do it by taking a bunch of shots individually and then stacking them later. But if the app's going to do it for me, that's how I'm doing it.
Absolutely. Me personally, do you prefer to shoot even longer or shoot smaller ones and merge them? Personally, I'd rather do the lot in one shot. That's just me. It's good that it has that option there. And for people who have a lot of traffic, or you're near a road or something like that, it makes sense to do to bring in the what's it bloody called? Interval.
Intervalometer?
No, not intervalometer. It's I can't remember the terminology that's in even longer, where it saves.
Oh, just intervals. It saves it at intervals.
It makes sense to do that if there's a high likelihood of something happening that you need to take out of it easily. Whereas I would prefer to shoot, like I'd like to just go out, set the camera up on a tripod, and go to bed, and wake up in the morning and see what I've got. And if I've got planes and stuff going all over it, no big deal. I'll use something like touch retouch just to take those planes out of the photo, and it works incredibly well to do that.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm everyone's in a different situation. For me, I'm quite comfortable going putting my phone at the backyard because I know it's going to be safe. So I'm not too concerned about that. But everyone's circumstances are different. What is it on Android? I've done a few of these videos, I reckon, with S21 or 22, one of the two, where you use the intervalometer app to take multiple photos over that period of time. You set the camera up manually, use the intervalometer to push the button, and then bring all those photos into Star Trails. I think the app is called, or Light. No, I think it's called Star Trails or Light. One of the two. It's like a sister app to the intervalometer app that use them together after each other. Again, this is exactly the sort of situation where we go, Apple user is a user and the Android user is the admin. You can achieve very similar things. One's easy to do, one you just got to know how to do it, and it's a longer process to do it. So to answer that question, intervalometer and Star Trails app, and set it up and you'll be good to go. Can everyone in this group contact Apple? Apple supports input. I can't argue with that. It's I'd like to have that. There's a few things that I'd like to have on the video. The output of the video is incredible. I would like to be able to change the camera that I'm using to forward. You can do it on the rear-facing cameras, but I'd like to be able to walk around, talk about something, hit the reverse button, and the camera just turns to the front one. It doesn't do that. And if it does, I can't work out how to do the bloody thing.
Then you need to try double take.
Absolutely. But I don't know if I'm still going to get all that stabilization in that double take.
Oh, yeah.
In the camera app. When I was out for that member video that I shot when I was out in the bush last week, I shot all that on the iPhone, just walking around with the iPhone. And there's a few times I've gone, I'll just swap the camera around. Oh, no, I can't do that. I've got to stop it, turn the camera around, start it again. And that, it's only a little thing, but it turned out to be a bigger thing than what it needed to be. I could have done all that that video in one take, just showing you around what I was doing and talking about what I was talking about. But the pause button, couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. We just had that one. Yeah, exactly what I'm talking about. If you've got a high chance of something coming through and just screwing up the image, absolutely shoot it that way. I've got no that. Does planet Earth need upgrade?
That is without question.
Yeah. That's not a photography question. 2 to 4 hours. Yep. Oh, I can't argue with that. Like, it's you're on the money, and you clearly, if you look through the group photos, our Metallica friend over here, he's absolutely the man that knows how to do light trail, star trail photos.
Yeah.
Light Trails is the app. There you go. That's the answer to. If you go and look on the Facebook group, Mike is the man for Android star trails for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
That would actually be quite good, because there's the Zeiss glass and that Zeiss was it XT or something it's called, the coating that they put on the glass. That's what eliminates the freaking lens flare on most of these other cameras. Why Apple is not using that is beyond me. Like, we've got so many generations of iPhones come down, they've all still got that bloody lens flare going on. We're going to wrap this up very shortly, guys. I'll just see how long we've been going for. We'll just answer these last two and we'll get out of here. Does iPhone use glass or I reckon it's glass. They advertised it a little while ago. Yeah, they'll call it Gorilla Glass, I reckon.
Sapphire crystal, I think.
What was the Gorilla Glass was the front stuff, I reckon.
Yeah.
It seemed to have a good reduction in glare. No, yeah, that's that. Sony absolutely uses that, and a lot of I reckon the Samsung's using that. It's XT or TX or something like that. T-Star, thank you.
T-Star,
yeah. That's what they're using to reduce it. They all still have it to an extent. People carry on in the comments on video saying, "Oh, that bloody green orb is everywhere. Apple is useless for this," but everyone does it. Every phone has it because physics is physics.
Yeah. I mean, to some extent, yeah.
Yeah. Apple just hasn't done anything about it for it. Just haven't. I'm curious, what are your guys' educational background? Educational background? As in our actual educational background? I went to the School of Infantry.
I just got my high school education and no post-secondary education for me. Everything I learned about this stuff, I've learned on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, same. I'm not sure where that's relevant. Can I send you a moon photo? Sure you can. Facebook group, put it there. That's what it's there for. The amount of stuff that people send me, I just stop replying now, unless it's something related to something that they've purchased from me. As in, hey, I just purchased this preset pack and this is what it's doing. And I'll liaise with them and discuss how to install them properly or whatever. But other than that, I've just had to stop replying to people. Just go to the Facebook group. There's just too many people. You can't keep sending me stuff. I just don't have the time to respond to everything. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. I'm sorry. So to answer this question, send your photos, put them on the Facebook group. Everyone that's on there, with the exception of Patrika, are really genuinely good people.
But we love him anyway.
He's a good guy. And everyone, if you want feedback, ask for feedback. People will give you feedback. And it's going to be good, constructive feedback. Guilty as charged. Oh, did you send me something? I can't remember. A lot of people send us stuff. Sorry, man. Greg, send us your handle on. What's your handle on Vero?
McMillan, just my last name.
McMillan, from the clan McMillan. Other fun videos, as always. All right, guys, let's get out of here. We've been an hour and 44 minutes. Holy moly. big chunk of my day's gone. It's now 5. It's 5:45 for you. Is that right?
Yep. I got to get ready for it now.
Me too. I've got to go outside and start burning piles of wood and stuff. Oh, look, he's still here. I only said that just to see if he was still here. All right, guys. Thanks, Greg. See you in a couple of weeks. Stay safe, take photos, put them on the group, and we'll see you then. Catch you later, guys.
Cheers.